It may be known as the land of ice and snow, but Greenland is rich in rare earth minerals and strategically important for defence and trade.
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will, and I'm not letting that happen.
Many Americans do not understand the Danish claim to this Arctic jewel that lies in their Western Hemisphere.
In Greenland, basically, their defense is 2 dog sleds. Do you know that? You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds.
No, not dog sleds. Denmark and NATO allies today sent aircraft, naval vessels and soldiers as Trump repeated his desire to own Greenland. The foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark arrived in DC to meet Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, urging diplomacy.
For us, ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and the right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk.
A desire echoed by Greenlanders themselves.
We're not going to grab the sword. We're not going to go into any kind of warfare. What we're going to find is, for hopefully, some kind of diplomatic solution.
President Trump isn't being fair to us, because I can't imagine living an American life. It's so free here, and we can live as we choose.
But America sees strategic interests everywhere in Greenland, rare earth minerals, but also a path to the US for a Russian missile, and where melting ice could open trade routes to China.
One thing everyone must understand: Greenland will not be owned by the United States. Greenland will not be governed by the United States. We choose the Greenland we know today, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark.
Within that arrangement, Greenland is self-governing, with Denmark setting out a possible path to independence.
Greenland belongs to its people.
Today, the European Commission President offered her support.
It is important that the Greenlanders know, and they know this by the deeds, not only by the words, that we respect the wishes of the Greenlanders and their interests, and that they can count on us.
But counting on the EU in the face of threats from the US is a bit of a challenge when all sides are meant to be members of the same defence group, NATO. Listening to the ministers from Denmark and Greenland, it's clear they had a little hope that they would sit down and the Americans would say to them, "Don't worry, it's all been a big misunderstanding." They clearly did not get that in the meeting. It was constructive. There is going to be a high-level working group that will meet within weeks to discuss US security concerns and Danish red lines. But it's clear the Americans were frank. And in fact, the White House has posted on X this afternoon an image that shows they don't see this as America v. Denmark. They see this as Greenland choosing between America or Russia and China. Now, you might say this isn't the moment to test the limits of NATO, given global instability. But listening to Donald Trump, he is not that worried about NATO. And actually, when I speak to European diplomats, they say, look, in the long term, we might be able to have a pact that is just European. But for now, NATO needs the US, and America has more of the cards.
So, in the words of President Trump, Denmark is protecting Greenland by adding 2 more dog sleds. The heart of the US argument is that it alone can protect Greenland. But 2 more dog sleds to protect it, is that it from the Danes? Well, no. There is a Danish military dog sled team, the elite Sirius unit, where teams of 2 spend up to 26 months per deployment, patrolling up to 5,000 miles of inhospitable territory in temperatures as low as -50 Celsius. Last year, the Danes did indeed announce that this dog sled unit would be strengthened. But when we asked the Danish government for more about this, they said that the detail was classified. But they didn't just stop at more dog sleds. They also announced 5 new naval vessels, 2 new long-range drones, coastal and air radar equipment, and a new military headquarters in the territory's capital, Nuuk. All to beef up Arctic and North Atlantic defences. And that's not all. Denmark did exactly what President Trump wants and committed to buying 16 more F-35 fighter jets from the US. bringing their fleet to 43. Nevertheless, in a sort of hands-off to the US, NATO has effectively admitted its members in the region need to do more still. And Denmark's Ministry of Defence have just announced that from today, there will be an expanded military presence in and around Greenland in cooperation with NATO allies. Bear in mind as well, there's already a US military base on Greenland, which Denmark has said the US is most welcome to expand. Matt.
Well, I'm now joined from Copenhagen by Rasmus Jarlov, the chair of the Danish Parliament's Defence and Resilience Committee. Thanks very much for coming on the programme in this splendid backdrop that you've got there. I mean, despite everything you just heard, you've done all the things that Trump has asked you to do. You've ramped up your defence. You've got soldiers on the island today as well. None of that seems to have convinced the American president.
That's right. We are spending a lot of money on the defence of Greenland. And it is really important to emphasize that the Americans already have full access to Greenland also. If there were a big threat from Russia or China, the Americans would have the opportunity to add as many soldiers in Greenland as they would want. But they have actually downscaled their presence by almost 99%, from about 15,000 to today 150 radar operators in northern Greenland. So we have upscaled our presence a lot, and the Americans almost removed theirs entirely.
Right, but none of this seems to be convincing Donald Trump not to want to acquire Greenland. You're not winning the argument.
No, it doesn't seem that way. We've heard for many, many days that it's insisting on wanting to have ownership. But we think the meeting today was very good, very constructive.
Really?
Now we have a dialogue about what can we do for the Americans. What concretely is it that they want in Greenland, besides the very, very access they already have to it. And the door is wide open. There's no need for threats. We are more than welcome to have the Americans in Greenland, and they can do mining, they can have soldiers. They just have to let us know what concretely they want up there.
You make it sound very calm and diplomatic, and I wonder if that's the way it's going to proceed. So we've just heard from the German government that they will post German troops in Greenland next week. You've got Norwegian troops there, obviously more Danish troops. I mean, what's the point of all those troops on the island?
Well, to increase NATO's presence with the rising threats that we're having at the moment. That's what the Americans have asked for. So we're hoping they will see this as a...
And if the Americans were to use force against Greenland, which is unlikely but possible, they would be clashing with those troops, presumably.
Yes. I mean, let's not get to that point. That would be a disastrous scenario for all of NATO countries fighting each other for absolutely no logical purpose and without any type of legitimacy. Okay. There's no justification for trying to annex Greenland. The Americans have no claim to it whatsoever. There's no legal claim. There's no historical ownership, no drug trafficking, and absolutely no threats from either Denmark or Greenland, who have done...
And they said that they don't want to become America's 51st state. In one short, if it doesn't come to force, but the Americans still insist on having it, and they throw money at it, they try and buy the Greenlanders, who's going to come to your defense?
That's absolutely out of the question. We will never agree to an annexation by the Americans. And we know they're stronger than us. We know they have a much better military. But nonetheless, we're just not going to do that.